I'm sorry. I'm just like really, I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck. During those years, you're still stuck 21.
We're watching a scandal unfold in real time, and the silence from one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces is becoming impossible to ignore. When federal agents raided the homes of Sean Diddy Combs in March 2024, the entertainment world braced for fallout. But few expected the ripple effect to pull in someone like Ellen DeGeneres, whose own carefully crafted image had already taken hits from workplace controversies. Now, as Diddy sits in a Brooklyn detention facility awaiting trial on charges of racketeering, trafficking, and coercion, old clips of Ellen laughing with him on her show are resurfacing with a chilling new context. The question isn't just about what she knew, it's about why she's not speaking now.
And they rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're...
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex.
The timing couldn't be more explosive. Just days after Diddy's arrest, Joe Rogan dropped a bombshell observation on his podcast. Ellen's name keeps popping up in conversations about Diddy's infamous gatherings, yet no one in mainstream media is pressing her for answers. The contrast is stark. While other celebrities have distanced themselves or issued statements, Ellen's response has been radio silence. And when you look back at the footage, her playful banter with Diddy about his after parties, her nickname for him, Cuddle McSnugglestuff, in a 2016 tweet, the jokes don't land the same way anymore. They sound like echoes of a much darker story. Let's rewind to that 2018 interview on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, where the two discussed Diddy's legendary soirees. Ellen, grinning, asks if he'll be on time for her party. Diddy laughs, saying he's always fashionably late. Then comes the line that's now being dissected frame by frame. Once you get there, the party really starts. Ellen's reaction? A knowing nod. I know about them, she says. The audience laughs. But today, that exchange doesn't play like comedy. It plays like a cryptic admission. Because we now know what federal prosecutors allege those after-parties entailed. Private floors, locked doors, and activities that went far beyond celebrity networking.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, Astroglide.
The irony is brutal. Ellen built her brand on kindness, on being the safe space in Hollywood. Yet here she is, tied to a man whose name is now synonymous with allegations of exploitation. And it's not just one clip. There's the 2009 moment where Diddy defends hosting Chris Brown after his assault on Rihanna, and Ellen, who positioned herself as a champion for women, lets him off the hook with a softball response. I don't want any girl thinking it's okay to go back to a guy who hit her, she says, before quickly pivoting away. Then, years later, her own show implodes amid reports of a toxic work environment, with former staffers describing intimidation and fear. The parallels write themselves: a public persona of warmth, private allegations of control, and a pattern of looking the other way when power is involved. But here's where the story gets even messier.
Known that I've talked for a while, a lot of people are buzzing that Diddy's former BFFs are real quiet.
And they have been.
And people were wondering why and who's the next to fall. And then Jay-Z comes out, and then LeBron James says, I'm stepping away for excused personal reasons. And people are going, oh, what is going on?
While Ellen stays quiet, others who once orbited Diddy's world are speaking up, or being forced to. Take Usher, who lived with Diddy as a teenager and later described the experience as pretty wild, a phrase that takes on new weight when you consider the federal indictment's claims about underage attendees at Diddy's events. Or Justin Bieber, who unfollowed Usher on social media after the raids, reigniting speculation about his own time spent with Diddy as a minor. Even Ashton Kutcher, who once called Diddy's parties weird, has found his name dragged back into the conversation. Yet Ellen, who had Diddy on her show multiple times, who joked about his top floors, who moved to the UK amid her own scandal, she's the one who won't engage. And that's what makes Rogan's point so damning.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible.
He's not accusing her of anything. He's asking why, in a moment when every other name tied to Diddy is being scrutinized. Ellen's gets a pass. Is it because she's a woman? Because her scandal was just workplace toxicity, not criminal? Or is it because the answers might implicate more than just her? The clips don't lie. The 2002 Conan appearance where Diddy jokes about locks on the doors to keep guests from leaving. The 2016 tweet that now reads like an inside joke with sinister undertones. The way she leans in when he talks about the real party starting later. None of it looks innocent anymore. Meanwhile, the legal noose around Diddy tightens. His May 2025 trial looms, with prosecutors alleging a decades-long pattern of coercion, hidden cameras, and a network of enablers. Over 100 accusers have come forward, according to attorney Tony Busby, with allegations spanning from the late 90s to the present. And yet, as the list of implicated parties grows, from music executives to A-list attendees, Ellen's name remains conspicuously absent from the mainstream narrative. Is that protection, or is it something else? There's another layer here, one that ties directly into Ellen's own downfall.
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
Remember the BuzzFeed report that exposed her show's toxic culture? Staffers described the environment where dissent wasn't just discouraged, it was punished, where fear of retaliation kept people quiet. Sound familiar? Because that's the same dynamic insiders describe in Diddy's inner circle. A code of silence, a loyalty enforced by power, and a refusal to acknowledge what everyone allegedly knew. The difference? Diddy's accusations are criminal. Ellen's were just professional. But the pattern, the way power insulates itself, is identical. And then there's the timing of her exit. Ellen and Portia de Rossi left for the UK in 2022, framing it as a lifestyle change. But the move came right as her show's reputation was in freefall, right as the industry was starting to ask harder questions about who enabled what behind the scenes. Coincidence? Maybe. But in the court of public opinion, timing is everything, especially when you've spent years laughing with a man now accused of running a trafficking operation, and your response to his arrest is quiet air. Now, let's talk about the parties.
This accuser says he's already listed as John Doe in a civil case against Combs. So talk about how that could impact this investigation now that he's also has identified himself too.
Yeah, so the only impact that I can see on this investigation will now be that law enforcement will know who to speak with. But he already reached out to law enforcement in Florida that's been working in conjunction with LA where the alleged crime is.
Because this isn't just about Ellen and Diddy. It's about an entire ecosystem. The white parties in the Hamptons, the Beverly Hills mansions with torches burning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the guest lists that read like a who's who of Hollywood, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z, Kim Kardashian, Justin Bieber. All of them have been asked about their ties to Diddy. Some have distanced themselves, others have stayed silent. But Ellen, she's the only one who turned the parties into a recurring bit on her show, who treated the rumors like punchlines, who, in hindsight, might have been closer to the truth than she let on. Consider this. In 2019, Khloe Kardashian casually mentioned on Keeping Up with the Kardashians that she'd attended one of Diddy's gatherings where half the people were naked. The clip resurfaced after the raids, and suddenly, what was once a throwaway line became a bombshell. Because if Khloe, someone with no legal exposure, is volunteering that kind of detail, what does Ellen, who made a career out of reading the room, actually know? And why won't she say? The answers might lie in the footage we already have. Like that 2009 interview where Diddy defends Chris Brown, and Ellen, despite her platform, despite her stated values, lets him off with a gentle reprimand. Or the way she reacts when Diddy mentions the top floors of his parties.
With a civil case, it's a much lower standard of a preponderance of the evidence, or in more layman's terms, more likely than not, the measurement we as attorneys typically use for that is 51%. And so for a civil case, you're just saying, hey, is there a 51% chance that Sean Combs allegedly committed these acts? If so, he would be liable. In the federal case, which was criminal, that was proof beyond a reasonable doubt, where he is found guilty of those two counts you mentioned earlier, and is serving a 50-month sentence in Fort Dix.
It's not shock. It's recognition, and that's the detail that's haunting her now. Because in the age of viral clips and federal indictments, every old laugh track starts to sound like a cover-up. But here's the thing about scandals. They don't stay contained.
There is a partial verdict in the Diddy case after 2 days. The jury has reached unanimous decisions on 4 of the 5 counts. The problem is that 5th count means that we don't get to find out what the verdicts are on the other 4 because they are hung up on...
The moment one thread unravels, the whole tapestry starts to fray. And right now, the thread is Ellen's silence. Because if she truly knew nothing, why not say so? If the party jokes were just that, jokes, why not clarify? The fact that she won't is what's making the speculation louder, and the longer she stays quiet, the more people will assume she's hiding something, and that brings us to the present moment. Diddy's in jail. His trial is months away. The list of accusers grows by the week. And Ellen? She's in the UK, posting about her garden, while the internet digs up every clip, every tweet, every frame where she and Diddy shared a laugh. The question isn't just about what she knew, it's about what she's willing to admit. Because in the end, this isn't just about Diddy's parties. It's about who attended them, who joked about them, who looked the other way. And right now, all signs point to Ellen being one of the few who still won't break the silence. But there's one more clip we haven't talked about yet. One that might change everything.
So, Q of Day 26, they were on Making the Band 4. He has finally come out and had a conversation about why he was so upset and crying in a lot of his interviews talking about Diddy and that whole conversation. Yeah. And he is making some really huge allegations against Dawn.
Back in 2016, during an interview with Amy Robach, a member of Diddy's former boy band, Day 26, broke down describing an incident at one of those parties. He woke up in a basement room, he said, with cameras rolling, feeling like he'd been sacrificed. The details are harrowing. And the kicker? He claims it happened at Diddy's Hamptons estate, the same location Ellen joked about visiting. The same place where, according to federal documents, some of the most disturbing allegations took place. So now we have to ask, when Ellen laughed about those after parties, did she know what was happening in the rooms upstairs? And if she didn't, why does it feel like she did? We've seen how Ellen's laughter with Diddy now echoes like a bad omen. But let's talk about the pattern, not just the moments. Because when you step back and look at the full picture, the connections between Ellen's career choices and Diddy's world aren't just coincidental. They're part of a much larger, more troubling narrative, one where access and silence seem to go hand in hand. And the deeper you dig, the harder it is to believe that Ellen's public persona was ever as wholesome as she wanted us to think. Start with the timing of her professional downfall. Ellen's show began unraveling in 2020, right as the first waves of Diddy's legal troubles started making headlines.
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
Not the full-blown federal case we see today, but the early whispers, the lawsuits, the accusations from former associates, the growing sense that something was rotten behind the scenes of his empire. Ellen's show, meanwhile, was imploding under allegations of a toxic work environment where former staffers described intimidation, racial discrimination, and a culture of fear. The parallels are impossible to ignore. Both were figures who built their brands on charm and accessibility, only to have insiders reveal a much darker reality. Both faced accusations of using their power to silence dissent, and both, when the heat got too intense, seemed to retreat rather than confront the fallout head-on. Now, consider Ellen's sudden relocation to the UK in 2022. Officially, it was framed as a lifestyle change, a chance to escape the political climate and enjoy a quieter life with Portia.
Say was, Your Honor, I will accept the Mann Act, but I feel like I was targeted by a weaponized Justice Department, and I now understand what President Trump was saying when he said that happened to him, because we have similar things that happen, and I appreciate what he was saying now. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now.
That's real simple for you to stand.
But let's be real. Ellen didn't just leave the U.S. She left at the exact moment when her show's reputation was in tatters, when the entertainment industry was starting to ask harder questions about who enabled what behind closed doors. And she didn't just go anywhere. She went to the UK, a place with stricter libel laws, where the press is less likely to hound her with the same relentless scrutiny she'd face in LA or New York. Coincidence? Maybe. But in the world of celebrity scandals, timing is everything, and Ellen's exit looks an awful lot like someone who knew the storm wasn't over. It was just getting started. Then there's the way she used her platform to bolster Diddy's image over the years.
Now we've done 3 others where we've laid out the prosecution case. This time, we're talking specifically, what is Diddy's defense? And we decided to test it with a mock jury, and it is fascinating.
It is absolutely fascinating, keeping in mind that the real jury will be sitting down to do this. The trial starts first.
It wasn't just one interview or one joke. It was a pattern. She had him on her show multiple times, always with that same chummy insider energy. She joked about his parties like they were just another Hollywood perk, not the alleged hubs of coercion and hidden cameras that prosecutors are now describing. She gave him a nickname, Cuddle McSnugglestuff, that now reads like a dark punchline. And she never, not once, pressed him on the rumors that had been swirling for years. Not when Cassie Ventura's lawsuit first surfaced. Not when the first allegations of misconduct at his events started circulating. Not even when other celebrities began distancing themselves from him. Ellen's show was the one place where Diddy could still laugh off the whispers, where the questions never got too tough, where the vibe stayed light no matter how heavy the accusations became. Ellen's silence now, it's not just about Diddy. It's about what her silence says about her. Because if she truly had no idea what was going on, why not come out and say so? Why not issue a statement clarifying that she was just as shocked as everyone else? The fact that she hasn't suggests one of two things. Either she knows more than she's letting on, or she's terrified that even addressing the topic will open a door she can't close. And given her history, given the way her own scandal played out, it's hard not to wonder if this is less about protecting Diddy and more about protecting herself. Let's not forget the way her show handled controversy in the past. When the workplace allegations first broke, Ellen's response was a carefully scripted apology, a promise to do better, and a quick pivot to damage control. She didn't deny the accusations outright. She didn't engage with the specifics. She just smoothed things over and moved on. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what Diddy's team has been doing for years. A statement here, a denial there, a strategic silence when the questions get too pointed. The playbook is the same. And if Ellen's silence now is anything like her silence then, it's not about innocence. It's about survival. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The one that connects Ellen to a network of enablers who helped Diddy maintain his power for decades.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this a test?
Because this isn't just about one talk show host. It's about an entire system. The music executives who looked the other way. The A-list guests who attended the parties and never asked questions. The media outlets that treated the rumors as gossip, not as potential crimes. Ellen was part of that system. Her show was a key stop on the PR tour for anyone who needed to clean up their image, and Diddy was no exception. She gave him a platform when others might have hesitated. She treated him like a friend, not a subject of scrutiny. And in doing so, she became complicit in the myth that Diddy was just another larger-than-life mogul, not a man who allegedly ran a criminal enterprise under the guise of glamour. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because Ellen wasn't just any talk show host. She was one of the most powerful women in entertainment, a figure who prided herself on being a voice for kindness and accountability. And yet, when it came to Diddy, she never once used that voice to ask the hard questions. Not when the first lawsuits emerged, not when the raids happened, not even now as the federal case builds and more accusers come forward. Instead, she's chosen silence. And in the court of public opinion, silence isn't neutral. It's a statement all its own. So what happens if the truth comes out?
This is the flight where Diddy said to her, she testified that he showed her a video of a freak-off that she participated in and said, if you don't participate in another freak-off when we get to New York, I'm going to put this video out. I'm going to send it to your mother.
And that's coercion.
She testified to that.
If the jury
believed her, that's coercion. They would have Cassie.
What happens if, somewhere in the mountain of evidence prosecutors are gathering, there's a clip, a text, a witness statement that ties Ellen to Diddy's world in a way she can't laugh off? Because let's be clear, this isn't just about old party jokes anymore. This is about federal charges, about racketeering, about allegations of coercion and exploitation that span decades. If Ellen's name gets pulled into that, if it turns out she knew more than she let on, or if she's seen as someone who helped Diddy maintain his facade, her career isn't just damaged, it's over. And she knows it. That's why the silence is so deafening. Because Ellen isn't just avoiding a scandal. She's avoiding a reckoning. One that could unravel not just her reputation, but the carefully constructed narrative of who she's always claimed to be. The kind woman. The safe space. The voice of reason in a town full of chaos. But if the past few years have taught us anything, it's that the people who shout the loudest about kindness are often the ones with the most to hide. And Ellen? She's not shouting anymore. She's not saying anything at all. But here's the thing about scandals. They have a way of dragging everything into the light eventually. And right now, the spotlight is getting brighter. Diddy's trial is coming. More witnesses are stepping forward. And every day that Ellen stays quiet, the questions only get louder. Did she know? Did she look the other way? Was she part of the machine that kept Diddy's secrets safe? Because if she was, then the fallout won't just be about her. It'll be about every celebrity who ever laughed off the rumors, every executive who turned a blind eye, every fan who chose to believe the myth over the truth. And that brings us to the one question no one's asking yet, but should be. What if Ellen isn't just a bystander in this story? What if she's a key player in a narrative that's still unfolding? Because the pieces are there. The clips, the jokes, the timing, the silence. All of it points to something bigger than a few awkward interviews. It points to a system where power protects power, where the right connections can buy you immunity, and where the truth only comes out when the walls finally start to crack. So, as we watch this story develop, as we wait for the next shoe to drop, there's one thing we can't ignore. Ellen's silence isn't just about Diddy. It's about her, about what she's willing to risk to keep her secrets buried, about whether the woman who built a career on kindness was ever really kind at all. And if the answer is no, well, that's a scandal even bigger than the one that took down her show. But we want to know what you think. Do you believe Ellen's silence is just a coincidence? Or is she hiding something that could blow this whole story wide open? Drop your theories in the comments because this is one conversation that's far from over. And as always, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the loudest truths are the ones no one's saying out loud. Until next time.